In this video on Google Sheets, I'm going to show you how to use if, and or expressions in evaluation of data. No buts. Get it? Okay, sorry, I'll stop. All right, we're going to first start off by talking about a couple different if statements. And if statements are going to use the Boolean statements that we've previously gone over. If you want to, you can follow along by going into the attachments. I have an actual copy of this sheet. You can make a copy of it and follow along with this. So let's take a look right here where I have all these different cells that are evaluating to either true or false. We're going to start off and we're going to use an if statement. And this statement is really great. It's going to give me one of two different values depending upon whether or not the thing is going to be true or false. Let me show you. I'm going to do equals sign if, and I'm going to do right here if C8. Now this is normally something that would be evaluating true or false, and I'd have something here. This already is true or false, so I'm going to use that. I hit comma, and now it's going to ask me what value do you want to have if it's true, and I want it to say the number is even. If it's going to evaluate false, I want it to say the number is odd. So right now it's saying the number is even. So if I do a 2 there, it's going to evaluate it to be true, which it already was. It's treating that as a 0. But if I do 1, an odd number, all of a sudden it's going to now say false here, and it's going to change that. So depending upon what's here, this is going to give me one of two different expressions in there. I could have it be a number. I could have it be text. In this case, I have text. So as long as it stays odd, this evaluates to false. When this evaluates to false, it's going to do the second of these two expressions. The number is even or the number is odd. I'm going to try another one just like that. Say equal sign if, and now I need my first expression here. I'm going to do this cell right here. If it evaluates to true, I'm actually going to leave this completely blank. I only want this to pop up kind of an error message if they did something wrong. So what I'm going to do for value if true is nothing. All I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a comma there, and so I'm leaving essentially nothing in between there, so it's not going to show anything. However, if it evaluates to false, I will say kind of an error message here. So right now, it's saying this is not a valid email address, we need to try again. So watch what happens when I input an actual email address. It disappears. Now, it's not like it's not there. If I use my control tilde trick, I can see that there's still an equation right there, but now it's looking like it's blank. This is something where you can have it pop up if, hey, I want you to put in an email address, and it's going to pop up an error message saying, oh, hey, that is not correct. I'll show one more really quick with another valid URL. I have another error message here. If I put in a correct URL, it's going to disappear. If I don't, it's going to say that I need to enter one. So I have kind of an error message here, only informing me this thing is only going to evaluate if it happens to come up false. That first comma right there means it's not going to do anything if the value is true. I'm going to show you one potential use that I have for using my logical expressions and my if statements. Right now I have three questions set up here. Is Star Wars better than Star Trek? And I have some data validation here for the possible answers. I mean, obviously, yes is the only answer. Who is your favorite Star Wars character? Let's go with, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And which one is your favorite Star Wars movie? And that one's easy, Empire Strikes Back. So I have a very simple question set up here. However, what if I don't want this question to pop up until they are done answering this one? In that case, I'm going to use some if statements to almost hide the question based on the condition of whether or not the previous answer was completed. Let me demonstrate. So I'm going to go in here where I just have this basic piece of text, and I'm going to modify it. I'm going to put an if statement, and I'm going to do it based on whether or not this particular cell is blank. Let me show you. So now I'm saying if this cell is blank, so this is a logical expression right here, it's going to either return true or false. It is blank. Now I want it to do one of two different things. Well, I want it to put the value if true. So if this is blank, I don't want it to do anything. I want it to leave it blank. However, if that is false, I'm going to input this block of text right here. What this is going to mean is that as long as this remains blank, this will also not be there. So it's evaluating it. If this is blank right here, then don't do anything. If it's not blank, then put this line of text. So now I have this question, which is going to remain hidden until this previous one is answered. So let's take a look right now. Is Star Wars better than Star Trek? The answer is yes. Now and only now it's going to pop that up. I'll do this again down here. So which one is your favorite Star Wars movie? So I'm going to take and modify this existing piece of text by putting the equal sign and then if is blank, and I'm going to open my parentheses. It's going to be searching for something. I'm going to be selecting right here where it says A5, close the parentheses. So that's my expression, is blank A5. That will either come back true or false. And the if statement allows me to put one of two different values. In this case, if it's evaluating true, if it's saying it's blank, I don't want it to put anything there. So that's why I have it just 2 commas, nothing in between there. And if it comes back false, then we're going to have them input this line of text. So all I really needed to do was add the if is blank statement to the beginning, a quotation, and then the quotation in parentheses to the end. And now I have questions that are going to remain hidden only until they are done answering the one before them. So is Star Wars better than Star Trek? Yes. Who's your favorite Star Wars character? Darth Vader. What's your favorite Star Wars movie? Empire Strikes Back. I could even add a little thing down here informing me that all the questions are done. Let me show you. Here's my little thing to tell them, hey, everything's done, but I'll make sure it doesn't appear until they've answered the last question. So now we have that. Just for grins and giggles, I'm going to put some conditional formatting as a nice reward for when this is done. Now I have it set up. I have 3 questions. The top one is the only one that's visible, and it will reward them when they get to the end. There we go. All accomplished using if and is blank statements. Let me show you how I can use if statements to take my little Amazon cart right here and add a little bit of flash, a little bit of something to sort of alert me if I'm going over a certain amount. Here I have my sum totals over there, and I'm going to use this right here as a trigger, sort of an if statement to give me a warning that I'm kind of over my budget. Let's say my budget is $1,000. So I want the warning to say this. So here's my warning, but obviously I only want this to pop up if I actually am over budget. Let's say my budget is $1,000. I'm going to take this piece of text and I'm going to modify it to only appear if I happen to be above a certain amount. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to modify it with my if statement. So I'm going to say if I4 is greater than $1,000, it's going to display, warning, you are over budget. However, if it is not below there, it's going to appear blank. And the way I'm going to do that is just by not having anything after the comma. Right now, it's telling me that I am over budget. So I now have a nice little trigger that's only going to appear there if I am. So I can go through it and figure out, okay, what do I need to do to get under budget? If I take off the Death Star, I'm under my budget. Maybe I could add just 1. All right, good. Still underneath my budget. Could add maybe another B-Wing. That Star Destroyer is a lot of fun. I could use, oh, wait, no, that's too much. That triggered it. I'm now over my budget. What else should I do? Maybe another one? No, I'm going to have to find something else there. Well, you know, do gotta get that stuff for the kiddos there. Maybe 3 of those, 4 of the, oh, no, too bad. Go back down to 3. So I have this nice little trigger that only pops up depending upon if this particular logical expression is true. If I4 does happen to be over 1,000, it will warn me. If not, here's the value. If false, is going to be blank. There's nothing after that comma, so it's going to be a blank cell. Now I'm going to introduce the concept of the OR. OR is something that I can use in an if statement. OR is going to return true if any of the arguments are true, and false if all of them are false. So it's going to be true if even one of them is. Let me show you. I'm going to type if, and then I'm going to put OR. And here, when it says ... this means that I can put any amount in here. I'm going to put this, comma, this. So C8 and C9. And I'm going to hit comma to move on. I'm going to say value if true, at least 1 is true. Then I put comma, value if is false, neither are true. It's a little tricky, but let's show you. Right now it's saying at least 1 is true. And I've just narrowed this down to just even and odd just so we can simplify this here. Right now this one is showing up true, that one is showing up false. Now, at least 1 is still true, but if I go here and I change that, let's say at least 1 is even, so let's change that to there. Now that one's reading false. This is still correct. One of them is true, but if I go like this, neither are true. So the OR statement, if I look at this, this is going to come back as a true if any of those in there are a true. So it's going to evaluate this. This one is coming back false. This one is coming back false. So when none of them are, this is going to return false. And now the if statement is going to evaluate that and say, okay, that's false. Then the value, if false, is going to be neither are true. If I was to change this here, now it's going to say at least one of them is. So OR is just a slight modification that's going to return true if any of them are. And it doesn't matter how many you have. You have 2 here. I could do that to more. Let me show you. All right, now it's evaluating a whole bunch of them. So let's see if I can't get them to all be false. There we go. Now I'm evaluating them all to false, and it's going to trigger that second thing. So even if I have a whole bunch of them here, if even one of them is true, this triggers to be true, and then it's going to trigger the if statement to go to here. At least one is true. So if I was to change this, now the one rings true, and it changes the evaluation down here. So that's the OR statement. A slight modification returns true if any of them are, otherwise it is false. Now, there is a slight different one as well. Instead of the OR, I could use AND. Let me show you how that one is going to work. Okay, so right now both of them are being evaluated. One is true, one is false. I'm going to modify that. Instead of the OR, I'm going to put AND, and now it's going to be evaluating these. All of these must be true in order for this to trigger the true one. So I'm going to put C8 and C9. And if they're all true, it will do this. At least one of them is not true. So it's not this one. That one is ringing there. At least one is not true, and that is still correct. There we go. So the AND statement is different. This one is only going to return true if all of them are all of these things within this expression right here. Otherwise, it's going to trigger as false. Even one of them being incorrect, even one of them being a false Boolean expression will trigger this to be false, triggering my second part of the if statement. So let's show that one more time with the full thing. So at least one of them is not true. Let's see if I can't trigger them all to be. Here we are. When I was able to trigger them all to true, now and only now will it trigger this AND statement as true, which allows me to jump to this part right here. So, AND statements, they all must be correct for it to trigger. OR statements, any one of them. And if allows you to display one or two different values depending upon how this first statement right here evaluates. If this whole statement right here evaluates to be true, it does the first one. If it evaluates to be false, it'll do the second one. If statements are very powerful. We'll be using them a lot more.